Oppose gender-affirming care and LGBTQ ideologies, you can forget becoming a foster parent. New proposed Biden administration guidelines, known as the Safe and Appropriate Foster Care Placement Requirements, may prevent children from being placed in the homes of Christians. Well, joining us to explain is Dr. Jameson Taylor, Senior Fellow at the American Family Association. So, Jameson, 60% of licensed foster care homes claim to be practicing Christians. Tell us more. What might this mean for the U.S. foster care system?
What listeners really need to understand about this is that this is not just about foster care. Certainly, this rule and accompanying legislation in the Senate and the U.S. House, there's a bill called the Paris-Hilton bill. This rulemaking and this bill together will drive Christians out of the foster care system. But the most important thing for listeners to understand is that this is not just about foster care. When the Biden administration is saying that if you are a Christian parent or a Christian foster care provider, that you are not providing a safe environment for kids, what they mean is you're providing a dangerous environment for kids. And when kids are in danger, that's defined as abuse. So what they are literally doing is beginning to define Christian parents teaching a biblical worldview, define that as a form of abuse if you deny basically the LGBTQ lifestyle for your children. That is where this is headed. They're beginning with foster care, but there's a push already to terminate parental rights when parents do not agree with their child's chosen LGBTQ lifestyle.
Okay, so this goes way beyond foster care. It's just the beginning, a slippery slope. Explain how you think this policy would demonstrate bias against Christian foster parents. Give us an example how it might discriminate against the religious convictions of, I guess, not only Christians, but devout Muslims and Jews.
This would be any parent who, for instance, believes that it's not healthy for their child to undergo, for instance, an experimental sex change operation. This is not just about Christians. This is about parents trying to do what is best for their children's mental health and their children's physical health. Literally, what this is about is replacing parents, terminating parental rights, replacing parents with the government. And we're seeing this in states like Minnesota and California that are so-called trans refuge states. Well, what that means if a state is a trans refuge state is that they're allowing kids, let's say from Mississippi or Texas or wherever it may be, those kids, let's say you meet a man online, and this friend drives you to Minnesota, and you get a sex change operation. The state of Minnesota is not going to allow the parents of that child to get their child back. They're essentially terminating those parental rights and putting that child into the Minnesota foster care system, terminating those parental rights and, basically allowing that child to go through an experimental sex change procedure. And we're well beyond the slippery slope, frankly. The Biden administration is doing everything that they can to terminate and weaken parental rights in every possible way that they can.
Are members of Congress, state legislatures doing anything to try to stop this new policy? What can people do about it?
Yeah, there has not been enough pushback. I think, one, it begins with the churches. Churches have to get political, and that means they have to stand up for their rights because their rights are being terminated. The rights of Christian parents are being terminated. Again, this is already happening in states like Minnesota and California. What the Biden administration is trying to do is to make this nationwide. Contact your governor and ask your governor to fight the Biden administration's efforts in foster care, to fight their attempts to push Christians out of foster care. The second thing that people need to do is contact your U.S. House member and your U.S. Senator and tell them to vote no on the Paris-Hilton bill. This is the bill that would drive Christian foster care providers out of foster care. It would drive Christian group homes out of that setting, congregate care settings. Call your U.S. House member and your U.S. Senator and tell them to vote no and to do everything they can to oppose the Paris-Hilton bill. We have good Republican conservative lawmakers that are sponsoring this legislation, like Tommy Tuberville in Alabama. They need to know that this is very dangerous for Christian providers. The third thing that people need to do and this really hits home, is you have to take away your kid's phone or don't give them a smartphone. Number one. Number two, get your kids off of social media. And then number three, if you can, pray about it. If you can, take your kids out of public school, because it's phones, it's social media, and it's public schools that are the main propaganda points for the LGBTQ lifestyle. And so parents have, you have to begin where you are, begin at home. You have to protect your kids from these ideologies that are being forced onto them. You have to protect them from the predators that they're meeting online. And again, we're literally in a situation where a child can meet someone online and then accompany that person to a state like Minnesota. The child undergoes an experimental sex change operation, and your parental rights are gone.
Okay, promoting strong families, Dr. Jameson Taylor of the American Family Association. Thank you for providing those insights. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for having me on. And listeners can learn more at afa.net or afaaction.net.